What's good? What's good? What's good? What is good? Good evening. Good evening and good evening, y'all. What is going on? What is going on? What's going on? What's going on? All right. What's going on, y'all? We should be live on Twitch. I think we should be live on YouTube. Facebook is giving me a little bit of problems. But we here. We here. Gang gang. Let me see. Let me see who's here with me. We're gonna get started in a few minutes. We will not be here for long, chat. We won't be here for long. There's some cool Afro beats playing in the background. Make sure everybody's here. Chat. Make sure chat is up. Chat is up and active. Good evening. Good evening and good evening. Ooh. Oh man. I'm gonna keep this rocking in the background. Good evening, good evening, good evening to the PYM live show. Thanks so much for joining in. If there's anybody here with me, if there's no one here, that's okay. We rocking out by myself. Welcome to the PYM live show. We do this every Wednesday and every Sunday night. Sorry I couldn't make it Sunday night. I was not feeling good at all Sunday night. I don't know what happened, but I tried to stream, but my voice was just not there. It was just not giving. So I was like, okay, I'll be back on Wednesday. It's the first time you see my face. My name is Kelvin. This is the PYM live show where basically all we do is just talk mental health simply, in everyday life, how we are affecting, how we are changing it, how we're improving it, how we're getting better at it, just different things that involve the brain, the mind, and everything in between, and everyday life and everyday experiences. That's something that we're doing. Where it should be live on YouTube at PYM Live, as well as on Twitch at PYM Live Official. Subscribe, wherever you are. Subscribe. That's what streamers say. One thing I do promise is that I am getting better every single day. I grace this wonderful platform. I am getting better. So you're watching the experience of me grow as a streamer. But yeah, man, let me just kill this music, and then we're gonna get started. Just picking up different topics. I'm a ranter, as I always say, so I like to give y'all a daily rant just off the top, and then obviously a bit more somber news of different things that's going on in the world, and how to just kind of keep your mental through it. But yeah, this is a PYM live show. Just right off the bat, one thing that I did want to come talk about today as my rant of the day, if you don't if you don't mind me, is that just talking about esteem. I'm talking about esteem and self-esteem and everything what does it actually mean? What does it actually entail? I don't know about you, but I find that it's a very interesting topic. I find it's a very interesting phenomenon because it's something that everyone says, and if you have too much of it, you're narcissistic. If you have too little of it, they say you don't love yourself or anything of the sort. So I thought I'd talk about it and kind of get shared thoughts again on this platform. I always say I'm not an expert. I'm not a researcher, but I will provide expert opinions as well as just little tidbits, hard word, and tips that I think are helpful, as well as one day we will have experts, therapists, professors, academics come on and just interview them on one-on-ones just to pick their brain on better practices that we can take in our everyday life. Beyond that, PYM Live, we are very focused on, if I don't have the answer, I'm going to ask someone else. If you don't have the answer, maybe my answer can help. Maybe your answer can help. Nobody has one set answer because the information is too much. Everything's too saturated. Everybody has an opinion of what's right and what's wrong. And we're just hoping that the collective good, we get better at keeping our minds through things. So, talking about esteem and self-esteem, I thought that I just kind of break it down for what it means to me and a little bit of my experiences. Esteem, like when I was younger, I really did have a big issue, if that makes sense, or understanding what self-esteem meant. I was, not the biggest kid. not tall, not short, pretty average build. Went from middle school in a different country. I grew up in the Bronx, you know what I'm saying? Shout out to VX. And then I moved back to Ghana for like middle school and high school. Then I went to boarding school straight up. So I went from like regular day school to going to a boarding school situation, and it was just like I'm meeting a whole lot of people. At one point I was playing basketball, but then I capped at 5'9", too short. So I was on the basketball team as a point guard, then was off the basketball team. Just little experiences like that. And I bring all those up to say that I was always finding myself struggling when it came to fitting in, if that makes sense. And I feel like a big part of my teenage years was fitting in, and a big part of my self-esteem level was based on fitting in with either like the cool group, you know what I'm saying, and like just being that I'm not the funniest. I am funny-ish. So I wasn't necessarily a class clown. You know what I'm saying? I didn't have all the tech, I didn't have all the gadgets. So I think that was my, how like in high school, everybody has their in. Everybody has, what makes them, identifies themselves. Some people want to be the high fashion guy. Somebody wants to be the, the funny guy. People just pick different lanes, especially as men, and just kind of just, stick to it. But in high school, I was kind of say I was a bit of a mixed bag. Like I had some hobbies, I had some traits, love sports, but wasn't the biggest like rah-rah sports person. Played some other than athlete, but that was for a short period of time. Smart but not smart, like full smart. You know what I'm saying? I was a solid B minus B plus guy. You know what I'm saying? Never A plus, never C. I give you a solid B plus. So I'm just right in the middle when it came to things. But I bring all these things up to say that, my high school, if I described it, I really was having issues like finding out what makes me me. And that really ate at me for a long period of time until like maybe like my senior year, where I was just like, yo, F everything. Like I am who I am. I'm not the most social person, but I'm socialist. I'm a good speaker when I want to be. I enjoy people's conversations, but not too much. So, like I started like really doing an introspective idea of who I am, and I realized that I did have a little bit of low self-esteem. So I thought I'd talk about it for anyone who maybe you are younger, you're older, and you've heard that, or people have told you that you have low self-esteem. Like, what the heck does that mean anyway? Now, we're gonna get the more complicated means of explaining it, but if I was to do a breakdown, everyday layman's breakdown of esteem, I mean, like, it's self-esteem to me is simply like the value or how you view yourself. If you were a commodity, or if you were like something being sold, your self-esteem is like the belief in yourself as for whatever value. So if you believe yourself, like it's sort of like if anything can be priced from $1 to $10, self-esteem is like that scale of how many dollars you attach to yourself as a commodity. Some people would say, hey, I'm $1. Some people would say I'm $10. Some people would say I'm $20. Some people would say I think I'm a 5. But esteem is just like whatever level you attach to yourself as value of what you offer. And then I feel like on the flip side of that, it is also like the belief of that. So it's that you can tell yourself you're 10, like you're 10 over 10, but if you don't really inherently believe that, then you don't really, it doesn't make up your esteem. You know what I mean? Like it's not just like the value attached to yourself, it's the strong belief in that value, whatever that unit is that you attach to yourself. That's just my definition of self-esteem. I'm sure there's more scientific definitions, but that's just my definition. But yeah, I wanted to talk about it because it's so interesting how much of our minds efforts actively and inactively are based on what we consider esteem. Like esteem is like tied to so many areas of our lives. I feel like your work life is based on like how much effort or how much you put into work is based on your esteem levels. Your relationship life is based on your esteem levels. Your financial life could be based on your esteem levels. You might pursue something or not pursue something based on just self-confidence. There's so many elements that are attached to it. And I feel like there's always like a stigma that's attached to like, yo, you need to have high self-esteem. Like, you just need to have high self-esteem. And before I even say anything more, I'm like, what is the use of high self-esteem? And I've read some studies about how most people who have high self-esteem are more likely to succeed. They're more likely to achieve. They're more likely to engage in or have better romantic relationships. And there's definitely been a lot of academic work that's been done into studying high self-esteem. But but looking at it, it's like, if you don't explain the value of high self-esteem to a person when they don't have it, then what's the point of us assigning like specific targets to it? Sorry, my throat's a little bit bad. You know what I mean? Like, what's the point of that? What's the point of assigning specific targets of like, oh, if you have high self-esteem, you will succeed. If you have high self-esteem, you're more likely to be rich. Or if you have high self-esteem, you're more likely to find love. Like, yes, those things are good, targets to have, but they still don't identify as why I should have high self-esteem. Like, what benefit does Kelvin gain? Like, those are things I can obtain, but like, what benefits to myself do I obtain when I have high self-esteem? You know what I'm saying? So as much as there's, different external reasons why, I want to talk about a bit of like internal reasons why esteem matters, as opposed to like high versus low. Now, these are just what did I always say at PYM Live? You know what I'm saying? It's always a third party perspective. You know what I mean? Third party perspective. That's all we do here. The PYM militia. As I said, the PYM militia, what we're tackling are challenges that affect our life. You know what I'm saying? Our focus is that if we're focusing on the things that eat up at us and increase our darkness, then what's left over is light. It has to be, right? So again, looking at why would you want to focus on esteem? And for me, I think the biggest attachment or importance of esteem and measuring and knowing your level of esteem or self-esteem is that your internal motivations are so much tied to your belief in you, like actual belief. It is so hard to achieve anything like personal. It doesn't have to be grandiose goals, but it's so hard to actually accomplish something if your belief in yourself is like going down. You know what I'm saying? It's hard. Like if your belief is going down on a regular basis, it's hard to really drum up motivation to do something. That's just the truth of the matter. And oftentimes, I feel like it's at the start of when you're doing something that your esteem needs to be as high as possible, because it's like that's when it's easiest to fail, or like it's easiest to fail. It's easiest to quit. Right? Because at the start, it's sort of like if you start working out at the gym, if you do the first day, there is no pain like first day gym pain. You know what I'm saying? That pain and soreness is like no other. But it's that if you quit there, you won't do the 190, or if you need 100 days to hit whatever fitness targets you have, you won't do the other 99 just based off of the first day pain. Same thing with us esteem and like whatever motivations you may have. It's that your esteem needs to be at a really solid level in whatever goals you may place for yourself, if you plan to have a long-term goal. Like if it's a long goal, if it's whatever the goal may be, if it has a set amount of time, your esteem needs to be high. Again, third party perspective, right? But it's hard to achieve that if like, everything is eating at you. Everything is like just weighing you down. And trust me, the environment, and I'm going to talk about other things that that affect you later on. I'm going to talk about environmental and external things that can eat at your esteem. But I just feel like, number one, esteem is needed for your internal goals. That's key, right? That's one big purpose of esteem, right? Especially in today's time. Two, more than ever, esteem is like needed in your everyday life, because everything around you like eats at it, if that makes sense. Everything. Like if you go online, I don't think there's a lot of positive reinforcement Oh, my throat's dry. I don't know what a lot of positive reinforcement that's going on online. Odds are the things you see and interact with either distract you or like just demotivate you. It's just like I'm saying, they distract you by making you laugh. Sorry, guys. They distract you by making you laugh, or they just demotivate you in terms of everyday activities. So, and friends, oh my gosh, I'll talk about friends. Friends sometimes can be good sources of building your esteem, but more times than not, friends don't know how to handle esteem. You know what I mean? Like, friends will tell you, bro, you know, like you can have a few quality friends, and but most times friends will tell you, bro, you know what I'm saying, that's tough. You know what I'm saying? More likely than not, your friend is just gonna tell you that's tough. You know what I'm saying? Keep pushing. Not because he's trying to be insensitive or she's trying to be insensitive, but they're just not equipped to actually help you build esteem in whatever area of life you feel like it's low in, right? So esteem needs to be guarded because most times the external sources of esteem are not that high. Motivation is cool, and my motivation might get you prepped, and that's why I would say I'm not a motivational speaker, but it's so fleeting in value that it's hard to actually like take it and internalize it. Most of the time, esteem is built internally, starting from you. Because it's like motivation only is impactful when you're on the road to building esteem. You know what I mean? That's when it's impactful, when you're on the actual road of, like, you know, changing your self-perception or changing your self-measure or self-value, self-worth. When you're on the road of doing that, motivation can come and just be like kerosene, like boom, you know what I'm saying? Dynamite, boom, exploded. But getting on that road is the tough part, right? So on that road of building esteem, external factors are really hard in terms of what they promise and what they offer. You know what I'm saying? 3, esteem levels are not fixed. I feel, especially as a young person, esteem levels are not fixed. There's so many highs and there's so many lows. But I feel like the most important thing when it comes to building esteem is recognizing the level of esteem you find yourself in. And there's nothing wrong with being at a low level of esteem so far as you recognize it. Now, if you're in a place where your esteem is low and you recognize it, it may not be a 1-day fix. It may not be a 1-month fix. It may not be a 1-year fix. But I feel like recognizing the level of esteem you find yourself at is a good first step, because it then helps you like actually put a face to the target. That if it's low and you need it to be a bit higher for what you need to achieve, there's something to work on. And even if it's too high, if people tell you, I feel like that's a negative. If your esteem is too high, I think there's dangers of floating into narcissistic or floating into overconfidence. Sometimes overconfidence is not necessarily the wisest decision, because overconfidence can cause you to feel fearless in situations where you should have a little bit of fear. You know what I mean? If you're in front of a line, if you don't have a bit of fear, I question, yo, are you okay? Because I'm saying you can be fearless, but you can be fearlessly killed in front of a lion. You know what I mean? So there's 2 levels. Like if your esteem level is too high, you might find yourself getting annoyed and angry at everything because it's not living up to your expectations, or you're not excelling at the speed of you want to excel at. And if your overconfidence doesn't match up with expectations of reality, that could be a problem as well. So it's not just low esteem that's an issue. High esteem is an issue as well, or can be an issue. But it's just important to do self-assessment of where your esteem level is, you know, and measure that, you know, because I give an example of, like, sometimes for me, the biggest challenge to me in my everyday life is right after something didn't go my way. It is like, I feel like in those situations when, let's say, if for example, when I was in school and I was writing an exam and I put my soul into that exam. I busted my ass. I studied for that exam, and I'm thinking that, I put in so much work. I gotta get like an 85 or 80, like a solid A, and feel like, I'm deserving of that because I put in the work. I write the exam. First question, I don't know the answer. Second question, I don't know the answer. Jesus. Third question, all of the above. I'm choosing questions like I have no business choosing these answers, but I'm just choosing whatever comes to my mind. And then when the results come, I get like a 60. You know what I'm saying? And I'm pissed. And it's like in those moments where like it just didn't go my way, I feel like that's when my esteem is most tested, because I'm like, yo, what is the point of putting in all this work for something not to go your way? And I'm sure it's so easy to ask yourself that. What is the point of putting in all this effort and it doesn't go your way? Or what is the point of doing this, or believing, let's say you have some self-belief that I am this, and when reality sits in, it looks like you're not. You're just like, yo, that's when my esteem was most tested, is when things didn't go my way. It's so easy. And there were times where I just felt like, yo, I'm giving up. Screw this. I'm out. Like, let me just crawl in bed. I'm defeated. And, it's not necessarily about getting defeated. It's about staying defeated. You know what I mean? Because it's like, it's so interesting sometimes when your esteem is challenged, because what happens is that, like, you think it's so easy to think that, like, the world wants you to be at the defeated place, right? So because it wants you to be at that defeated place, once you get there, it's just like, I'm here now. Now what? You think that, like, positive, like, because everything, like everything is compelling you to just give up. You think that, oh, once I give up, shouldn't there be some kind of positive attached to giving up, since everything is forcing me to give up? But when you actually give up, it's like the world just keeps moving on. You know what I'm saying? It just keeps moving on. So it's sort of like, what did they say? Don't go into the light in all these movies. Like, don't walk into the light. Because when you walk into the light, your story ends right there. There's no sympathy attached to you giving up. There's no pity. There's no empathy. There's no care attached to when you give up. You know what I'm saying? So when your esteem is tested in situations, whatever negative, for me, like I said, is when things don't go my way, it's that there's no actual benefit, or there's no actual, like, gain or support that the environment or the universe brings your way when you do, right? So understanding, like, measuring it is key. Understanding its impact. I feel like a big part of esteem and your self-esteem is your interactions with others. You know what I'm saying? Your interactions with others. Like, you don't want a situation where because of your current state, it affects, like, key relationships or potential key relationships. And when I say relationships, I'm not just talking romantic relationships. It could be anything. It could be your social relationships. It could be your work relationships, your business relationships. If your esteem level is low, sometimes it radiates in your conversation. And when it radiates in your conversation, sometimes a person hearing that may not be inclined to connect with you when your esteem level is dangerously low. So it could be a person of, like, key purpose. Like, I'm actually, let's say, for example, like, you were waiting to connect, get a chance, like, 2 minutes to talk to this individual. And this was, like, the individual that, like, would just blossom up whatever area of life for you. And because your esteem level was shot, you feel defeated, you feel disappointed, discouraged, like, internally, there's not a high level of belief in you, and it radiates in your conversation. It kind of crumples the relationship, or crumples the opportunity of the relationship. You know what I'm saying? If it's a romantic relationship, you're trying to talk to a girl or a guy, whatever the situation may be, you know what I'm saying? Don't be braggadocious with it. But if you're not, if your esteem levels is low, sometimes the word and word selections that you use, changes with it. How we say over here, PYM Live, words are so powerful. Words are, and the intentionality of words are key. So understanding esteem and how it affects you and how it affects others is super key. Super key. Easy practical example I can give you is that, like, when I'm in a down space and I just don't have any self-belief in myself, like, I'm easily irritated. You know what I'm saying? Like, everything annoys me. Everything is just, I'm not someone who's, like, quickly angered. That's just not me. But I'm easily irritated by a lot of different things. And if someone comes to me in that state of mind and is talking to me about opportunity, or talking to me about, something positive, or if it could be a friend and they're telling me about some good news, you know what I'm saying? Just because I'm just not feeling like, what I'm saying, like, why are you talking to me? I don't really feel like I'm deserving conversations. I might just be like, yo, screw you. I don't want to talk to you right now. Whatever it is, what it is. Like, you can be so non-reactive in a space where you find yourself when your esteem is too low, right? And then and lastly, just wrapping up, I'll just talk about, like, the dangers attached to not progressively progressively understanding esteem and progressively understanding your esteem levels. I feel like the first one off the top of mind when it comes to understanding your esteem and the dangers with it is that one, you can I already said you can miss key opportunities, you can miss key relationships, but more than that, you can waste so much time. Time is the killer for me of low self-esteem, because it's like, I'm not saying in a bad way of like woe is me, or like take pity on me, but time is your number one like resource in all things. So if your time is being wasted because you're so internally in your head about who you are, why people don't value you, or why people don't love you, or why you can't do this, or why you can't do this, and why, you can end up wasting months, years, decades of your life, your potential, of your purpose on situations that could have been solved if you took a check and measure of your esteem, just your self-esteem. You know what I'm saying? Like your self measure of self value. You know what I'm saying? In yourself. And especially as young people, we cannot. I always say, like, being young is such a, like, I feel like it is such a blessing. It is such a, like, a benefit. You know what I'm saying? And it's also the likeliest time of when your esteem is low, and it can rock with you for your 30s, your 40s, your 50s easily. You know what I'm saying? It could be through bullying, it could be environment, it could be your family, it could be through trauma, it can be through experiences. I'm not saying those things don't exist that can really eat at your esteem. I'm just saying that at some point you have to take measure of, will I allow the situations that I've been through to continue to suck up the time I have left? Because that's it, it's as simple as that. And it's not like some grandiose change when you do recognize that your esteem is low and your time is being wasted. It's just an everyday change, an everyday change. Some it can be solved through therapy. It could be solved through counseling. It could be solved through friendships and just changing your associations. It could be solved through finding like valuable information. Whatever the case may be, I'm not. There's no one size fit all solution. I'm just saying that when you get to that point, you realize that it's no longer worth it for me to trade in my time for the unwanted levels of esteem I have. So I gotta fix that for the time I have moving forward. Right? So, I mean, that's my rant. You know what I'm saying? I hope that anyone, checking in, I hope that it can benefit someone just on building your esteem levels. They're so important, and we would like. I'm not gonna talk about the things like your success, your financial success, or your career, or your relationships, or your passions and purposes and aspirations being achieved by adequate levels of esteem. Those things are known. I'm just saying for your internal stock of you and internal view of the time you have left, it's important to on a daily just recognize that, if my esteem level is not where it needs to be, if it's too high or too low, I'm not gonna get to see the things I want to see. You know what I mean? That's it. And from there, if you understand that, I think you're in the right direction. But again, I would love to learn from anyone who's in the chat or anyone who sees this video, like, what are your issues with your esteem? What have you found? Have you done any analysis? Have you done any, just questioning of yourself on where you think it is? How do you measure that? Or what do you think are the ways you think you can measure your esteem? I'd love to hear from y'all. You know what I'm saying, in the chat. If you see this video, we want to learn from each other, right? But, if you see this, subscribe. This is the PYM live show. Just my rant of the day. Nothing crazy, nothing too long. But yeah, man, just rocking out. I thought I'd check in with you guys. I won't be here for too long. But yeah, if you've seen the title, another thing that I had on my mind, I know a lot of us, if you're on social media of any sort, you've seen the news of the recent passing of famous rapper Takeoff, part of the Migos. It's a very sad circumstance, man. Like, I personally tried not to ingest the information too much. Like, I am aware. I know what happened. I understand it was a bowling party. I understand there was a shooting. I understand that, it was a random dispute that happened. Someone took out your gun and shot. Like, I understand the details, but I try my best not to ingest too much of the information, because again, the journey is protecting this thing. But I wanted to talk about it honestly. I know, like, one of our, like, we spoke recently on, like, dealing with negative news, like maybe like 2 weeks ago. Sorry, my throat's crazy. Like, dealing with negative news, and the impact of that. And this is really an example of what I was talking about, in the sense of, like, when something negative happens, whether it's in society, in the community, like, whatever they call it, culture. They call it the culture, whatever that means. When something when something happens negative, it is crazy. Like, the amount of, like, flooding. And I'm not even, again, I always say, I'm not on social media. I don't have a Twitter, I don't have an Instagram, but I see it on YouTube sometimes, and I see it, like, it comes up wherever. I have a little Snapchat, but OG product, I barely use it, but I see it, like, flood the timelines. And I'm sure it's worse on Instagram and Twitter. And yes, sometimes it's like, in the name of keeping up with being informed, it's like we cross over to, like, flooding us with nonsense sometimes when it comes to negative news. And obviously it is RIP, like, to Takeoff, RIP to his family, thoughts and prayers rather to his family and what they're going through. And like, obviously it healing energy their way as they deal with grief. Yes, but at the same time too, do we really need the 24, like, the 24 access coverage? Like, is it really that deep? Because I think that, like, through social medias, it has, like, I keep saying it, like, I don't think there's any benefit to when death and loss is so regular. Like, what do we gain by doing that? Like, when we make it so popularized, like, what I'm not saying, and I don't wish, like, what I'm saying, like, I don't wish any negative situation on anyone. But if you don't take stock and realize that, like, not to say it's an agenda, but there's too much coverage whenever there's a famous death, that if you don't take stock and realize the dangers of that, what happens when you may have to deal with a loss in your family, and all your reactions have been sapped because you've been saying that's tough and that's crazy to every single situation you've seen on a TL? You know what I'm saying? You're robbed of the opportunity to, like, grieve. You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying, like, because you find out about Takeoff that it's gonna be like obviously Takeoff is just a known figure who was a talented rapper. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that if it's sort of like, if you build up a tolerance for grief, how then do you actually grieve when you need it? You know what I'm saying? I believe every emotion is important. I believe every emotional trigger is important, because it's like the brain's way of coping. It's sort of like how you know what I'm saying, they told us back in school, you need a little bit, like, for a balanced diet, you need a little bit of rice, or a little bit of protein, a little bit of fats, a little bit of oils, a little bit of carbs, a little bit of minerals. You need a little bit of different things to make it balanced. I feel it's the same thing with the brain, that you need a little bit of ability to handle anger, abilities to grieve, ability to cry, ability to laugh, ability to understand, ability to be paid, like, whatever emotional trigger that may be. Ability to love, ability to hate. You need all those things to kind of not lose your mind. So if you're all flooded, like, with the coverage of a negative situation, what happens when you're saturated? You know what I'm saying? It's sort of like, I was talking about memes, and memes is a situation where, like, memes are annoying now because you've seen it all over the place, right? Very few memes actually make you laugh. Very few. But the saturation of memes makes the effect of it die. So what happens when with the saturation of grief? You know what I'm saying? What happens in a situation where, because of the coverage, you know what I'm saying, of a known rapper, is it really worth it to know the details of the like, is it really, really worth it? Are you sure? Like, to know, Takeoff was standing over here, and the guy put out his gun, and then he went like this, and he, like, you know what I'm saying, and watch the play-by-play. Is it really worth it? You know what I'm saying? What benefit do you gain by learning those specific information? What? At this stage, the man got shot. It was unfortunate. It was a scaffold. And yes, there are bigger problems at play. There's too much violence. There's too many situations. There's too many situations where people just pull out and shoot. I agree. I agree that, like, on the side of, people should move with security. I understand that. And it's like people don't value life. But if people are evil, what can you, I'm not saying people are evil, but if evil forces are taking advantage of people to do evil things, what can you say? Like, what does more information do? You know what I'm saying? I always believe that there's a point where over information becomes unproductive. Like, I'm a big believer in that. People always say we need more information. But sometimes it's good not to have all the information, because all the information will skew the way you see things heavily, right? So yes, I understand like having both sides to a story, sure, but in certain situations, especially situations of loss and negative news, sometimes pull back, tune out, leave the timeline, leave it alone, let the news cycle reset. Because if everybody is in uproar, my English is not coming. If everybody's in uproar, if everyone is outraged, if everyone is like, yo, we gotta, like, how long, bro? Like, everyone is in that same state of mind. What is actually being done about the situation? All you have is a bunch of people shouting about a negative situation, and you're consuming that. I'm a big believer. Your eyes and your ears are the pathways of your mind, right? So if you keep consuming negative information, it numbs you out to it. And yes, I'm aware there's been multiple people's lives have been lost through pandemic over the years, like notable figures that have just been lost for stupid reasons. I'm a big music head. I understand that. I love my cultural general news and general affairs. Like, I'm a big believer in keeping up to date with what's going on. But like, I keep up to date with what's going on at a distance. You know what I'm saying? I check in, get the information, and leave. I'm not looking for commentary and reactions, because too much of it will just numb me out. You don't know when you're gonna need to actually pull out genuine grief. But because, like, and what happens when you've that's crazied yourself for the last 2-3 years because you reacted to every single situation that you saw on the timeline? It's tough. Thoughts and prayers. I hope I send healing energy to that family. You've lost the life of a son, a brother, a father, whatever the case may be, and I send them well wishes. But I can't deal with the commentary. Why does someone trend when they die? Like, that doesn't make sense. Like, what does the person gain when they trend when they die? And then everybody wants to join in a conversation and give their 2 cents. Even me saying this, I'm trying not to speak on the matter. I'm just trying to speak on the pattern. Like, it's a pattern that we see. It's a pattern. We gotta break from it. Like, if someone notable passes away, send positive energy to the family. Like, not online, just in your thoughts, in your speech. Just send it. Process it. Maybe if you need to adjust, if you're in the Houston area, you're like, listen, it's crazy out here in these streets. Let me just, take my time. Let me not, like, you adjust, check your level of security and safety. That's different. But to consume the commentary, to consume the coverage, because that's what's trending. I don't know how long we keep this up. I don't know. I don't know, man. I don't know. But I mean, what are your thoughts? Like, not necessarily on, Takeoff, not necessarily on the shooting, but just what are your thoughts about the reactions to these things? What are your thoughts to what people do in these situations and what you see? How have you been affected by the coverage, the, like, literally all access, all platform coverage of negative news and negative announcements, like loss and deaths of popular figures and celebrities? How has it affected you? Have you taken stock of it? And what do you think we can do to kind of just disconnect as a people from some of this over consumption of coverage around a negative circumstance? But yeah, anyway, that's the show. I said I wouldn't be here too long. My throat's kind of acting up weird, so I wouldn't be on. I mean, thanks for watching. Like I always do, for anyone who's watching, I wish you perfect health. I wish you perfect wealth. I wish you perfect love, and I wish you perfect self-expression, and that in everything that you do, that your mind is secure and growing every single day. It's something I say anytime I touch this stream. Thanks so much for watching. So make sure you subscribe. We are live on YouTube at PYM Live. We are live on Twitch at PYM Live Official. If I'm rocking out by myself, that's okay. I'll clip it up so everybody else can see. But thanks so much for watching. I will be back Sunday night, 9:30 shop. Maybe 9:35 depending on the time. Like I said, I'm always getting better. Shout out to the PYM militia. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? We're growing every single day. But y'all have a great evening. And then I'll see you guys on